Hello, Spartan faculty, and welcome. This video is going to show you how to use Follow You printing with your laptop or whatever workstation you'd like to be printing from. We should all be decently familiar with Follow You printing. When we adopted this series of printers and copiers that we're working on now, the tech staff advised people that Follow You printing was the preferred method for us to print from. It's great in terms of it gives you a little bit of flexibility. It's a great etiquette for your colleagues to be able to do so, and it really takes very little to learn here. But I want to take time to make sure everybody's up to speed, because this is the method of printing that you have to employ this year, the way the network is set up. So again, there's value added to it. It takes a second or two to learn. So I want to take a second and kind of help people do that. It's going to be great for everybody. Now, an overview of Follow You printing is what you do is you would, from your workstation, print, in fashion that you have before, except now instead of printing directly to a particular printer or a particular copier, you print it sort of to our network in kind of a holding pattern, almost like it's in the cloud. And then when you go to any of the printers or copiers, copiers in the building, you use your ID tag to log into it. You choose Follow You printing, and then the job is pulled down to that particular printer. That particular copier. So it's great because we have two high volume copiers in the copy center, kind of a medium volume copier in the library, and then two sort of lower volume copiers, one in the science room and one in the science wing, and the other in the lower house. Couple things about printing before we get into the how-tos of Follow You printing, and that is if you're printing envelope labels or you are printing on cardstock, you must use the bypass tray, okay? And if you are printing on color, it really should be reserved for tray 2, due to the fact that the nature of colored paper has a different weight to it, and it's good for the health of the machine. When I show you a little bit later how to do a saved preset, it'll be even easier to get your color jobs printed to the place that you need them to go. Okay? So I'm going to show you two things in this video. One is basic Follow You printing, and two is saving a preset so that you kind of create a one-touch phenomenon with your printing, which is a really big help. Okay? So say that, for instance, for this particular job, I wanted to print 10 copies that are hole punched for this. Okay? So I would hit Control-P. Okay? I would look here under Printer, see where mine says Follow You Printer. My default is set to be that printer. If yours is not, there's a way to do that, and even though it's maybe not be your default, you could pick it out of your list. Should be a skill everybody has. Okay? So then I'm going to go to Printer Properties, and this brings up the window that maybe if you've not used Follow You printing before, you're not as familiar with. But this is where all your options can happen. So here, I'm going to set this for 10, which I already have because it's kind of the second time I'm making this video. Under Punch, I'll choose Left. Okay? And then we see here, there's other options I'm not selecting, but you have a two-sided option, which standard usually is on the long edge. You have an option for stapling, which I'm not going to turn on here. There's options to make booklets. You can go through that on your own time. It's not as common, or seek some help out with that. Your input tray, okay? Here, it would be auto tray select, would normally be 1. Would happen if you were kind of on, say, do automatic. You could pick any tray you want or the bypass tray. But for right now, like I said, I'm just going to pick 10 of these hole punched and call it a day. I hit OK here, and print here. And then from there, I would go to any copier I want and use my ID card or my login information. When you get there, choose Follow You printing, and you can say which of the jobs that you want pulled down to that copier. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a preset, and presets are great if a lot of your jobs that you run kind of have things in common, okay? So for me as a teacher, one of the things I tend to do, it seems like the majority of things I hand out are two-sided to be environment friendly, stapled so kids don't have to page through them, and hole punch so they have an opportunity to get into their binder. A lot of the stuff I do tends to be on white, although I do colors on copy too, copies on color as well, and I'll show you about how to do that, make a preset for that too. So say I wanted here to make a preset. I'd have to have some document open and just so I could access the printing function. So I'd go to Control P, okay? And then I would click here under Printer and come to where it says Follow You and go to Printer Properties, okay? Now here, like I said, imagine that I always wanted so many of my documents that I would say I want them to be two-sided, I want them stapled, okay? And then I want a hole punch on the left. And believe it or not, I tend to know I can get 20 copies. Okay, all of this is adjustable too, even if you click the one set feature. It's all editable once it comes up. Okay, so for here now, where it says setting summaries, excuse me, not setting summaries, where it says register current settings, okay, it gives me an opportunity to save those presets. This one-click preset name I'm going to call everything, and then I'm going to call it white. Okay, when I say everything, it's just a note to myself that like it's all the possible options that I would want. Hole punch, number of copies, and then back-to-back and staple. Okay, so it's great here when I hit OK. If you notice now, this appears in the list. Okay, so when I come up here now to hit Control P and go to my printer properties, this is an option. So if you notice here, if I went and clicked basic setting, which is just by default one copy, not hole punch, not stapled, one-sided. But as soon as I click everything white, it gives me those presets back. So it's I get a left punch, a staple, back-to-back, and it's still on auto tray select because that tends to be tray 1 where we tend to use white paper. Now from here I could change these and say, okay, well, I have a couple of extra people coming in that day to observe, so I'm going to print a couple more copies. I'll print 23. Now when I print OK and hit print, it's all set to go. Okay, so that's how you make a preset. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK here, and then like I said, you would hit print to execute that print job. Okay, say now I wanted to make a different preset, because remember we said kind of printing in color should happen from tray 2. So imagine, just going to bring up a colored document. It's obviously not going to print it in blue. I'm just kind of be emphatic about the fact, like, say you wanted this on blue. Okay, I could go to Control P, and I don't need to make a preset. I could just pick tray 2 and be done. Make sure there's color printer. Make sure there's colored paper in the copier at that point. But if I print on color a lot, I might as well make a preset for this. So I could sit here and say, well, I want these to be two-sided. I do want them to be stapled. I do want them hole punch. Again, this is all customizable to your desires. And I want it to be in tray 2. Now when I go to register those current settings, I'll just call that everything but color. Okay? So now this preset is here and it's great. So now I've got 3 of them, the basic setting, okay? Everything on white, or everything on color, which is the same as my white but just changes the tray. Okay? So I could print here, hit OK, hit print. Okay, so that should get you started. Using presets is great because if you have like 5 features you want to add to a print job, but you're doing it for lots of print jobs, you might as well make a preset for it, and then it's kind of a one-click phenomenon for the rest of your life. And you could actually make slight adjustments to it too. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, always reach out to me or another staff member or somebody in tech. Okay, and have fun, be well, happy printing.